Thank you for joining the training video for LMI Solutions Spectrum product, powered by Compass Sales Solutions. LMI Spectrum's web tool is used to analyze current situations for potential MPS clients and price out solutions for taking over service on currently owned equipment. To access Spectrum, go to lmispectrum.com. You'll enter in your login ID, your username, and password. You can ask to have it remember you, and once you've entered in your information, just click the login button. This will bring you to the main page where you can search for accounts, add accounts, and work within your accounts. To access the last account you were in, click on Accounts and Last Viewed. To search for an account, go to Quick Search and enter in a keyword. You'll see a list of matching accounts, and to view those accounts, just use the View button. You'll also notice there's a log out option up here. This will log you out of the system where you can log back in. On the bottom right, it will also show you how many minutes you have remaining in your session. It defaults to 60 minutes. However, anytime you go from one tab or one area to another, it will automatically reset to 60 minutes. Also, when searching, in addition to doing it by account and keyword, you can also do it by keyword for contact. You also have a drop down here that will show you the last 10 accounts you've accessed within the system. To add a new account, use the plus button. A form will come up where you can enter in the account name, which is required, as well as the address, city, state, zip code, and phone number. After you've added in the information, just click the Save button, and your account will be added into your database. As an administrator, you also have access to the Reports menu, where you'll see the login history of any users who have accessed the account. This will tell you the date they logged in, their username, the IP address that they logged in with, and what internet browser they were using. In the login history, it will default to who you are logged in as, but you can change this if you're an administrator based off of any users that are in the system. Put in a date range and click Go, and the grid will populate. You can see additional info by using the Info button. In all the grid areas within the system, you can also sort by the header row, and you can move them around to customize how you'd like to see it. There's also a filter button if you'd like to use is equal to, not equal to, contains, ends with, etc., and put in your criteria. It'll filter down your list. Also within all the grids, you'll notice the arrows at the bottom here. If you have more than one page, you will need to use the arrow to go to the next page, or the arrow with the line to go to the very last page. Under Tools, you can see and search through the equipment that Compass has pre-loaded with industry average costs. If you select the printer base option, you'll see a form come up, and you can look for specific manufacturers. You can search by a keyword or just hit Go to see everything. This is updated on a continual basis and has almost 9,000 devices loaded in there. These are the manufacturers that you'll see. And again, you can sort by the header rows or move them around. You'll see the street price. This is based off of an industry average. This isn't your actual customer cost. However, when you pull in the printers into your total cost of ownership to show the customer, you can change these numbers. You'll see out cost. You'll see OEM out costs. The white fields are for mono, and the color fields are for the color cartridges if it is a color device. The Resource Center allows you to look up helpful documents that are loaded in. Page fill examples, as an example, assessment checklists, different white papers. To open any of these, just click the Open button, and it will download the documents. This is an example of a page with a 5% page coverage, for example. These will be in either Word, PDF, or maybe an Excel document. When your administrator is setting up pricing in the administration area, there's an option to set up a sandbox. What this is it's a testing area, so it doesn't go live to the database until all the pricing's been tested. You can switch on and off the sandbox here if you're an administrator. This is also where users can change their password. Passwords must be at least 8 characters, contain at least 1 number and 1 letter. To change your password, just put in your new password and confirm it and click on Change Password. Also in Tools, there's Transfer Accounts. Again, this is for administrators only, but this is where you can select a current user, view their accounts, and transfer them to another user. The only users who can see the accounts that they're access to are the users that are assigned to them. You can name the account to the rep that you choose to transfer them to, or you can choose to make primary, which will allow both users access to that account. Once you've selected the accounts you want to transfer using the checkboxes, just hit Transfer Selected. Once you're ready to start your assessment, go to the account you'd like to work with. You're going to start with a pre-analysis. What the pre-analysis is it's a 6-step process where you can add the customer's current device information. Just enter the information and click the Save button at the bottom of each page once you've entered in all the information. In step 1, you have prospect and contact qualifications. You'll enter in the estimated number of printers that they currently have, the estimated monthly expense, the contact qualification, so their name and title. In step 2, you're going to do the pre-appointment requirements. So you'll check all that apply. Did you show them a sample assessment? Were you able to provide them with case studies, third-party support, so any support that you might need from a third party for getting their meters and things like that? And are they aware of the benefits of your program? In step 3, you're going to enter your customer's actual information gathered from your appointment. So how many printers do they have? These would be the answers to whoever you've asked at the organization. So in step 1, you're estimating what you think. These are their actual answers. Once we go into proposals, you're going to get the truth to the questions, because not everybody knows how many they have. And you're going to use that by, walking through the facility, identifying equipment, maybe bringing the equipment in from FM Audit, for example. So how many printers do you have? And how much do you spend per month? Also, what's included in that number? Is it just toner and consumables? Is it possibly IT labor, invoice expenses, and things like that? And you're going to enter in that information in detail as well. Do you depreciate or expense your printers? Do you currently have an asset management system in place to manage, or are they just kind of going through and managing them themselves? How do you currently support your printers? So do you do it internally, possibly from an IT department? Do you have a third party, maybe an outsourced IT? Maybe you already have a vendor and you're on a CPI program, or is it other? And then if internal supports, how much time does it require monthly? Because again, this is going to be a dollar amount you can put in as you're doing the assessment. If you're using a current vendor, what benefits do they provide? Is your current vendor working to reduce your expenses and increase efficiency? And what are your top 2 goals for managing your production? And then we'll go to step 4. In step 4, you're going to enter the initial assessment information. Was the assessment approved? Confirm or not approved. If not approved, what was the reason why? And the assessment type, if it is approved, are we just looking at printers? Are we just looking at copiers? Are we looking at both? Or are we looking at all output, which would be copiers, printers, outsourcing? Maybe there's some specialty printers and things like that. And what is the estimated time period for you to get the assessment done? At any time in any of these areas, you can always go to the Resource Center and pull any of those documents that we looked at under Tools in Resource Center. Now moving on to step 5, this is where you're going to enter the information regarding the expense categories that you've agreed to put in the assessment. Actual toner, of course, you're going to want, at least 120 days of purchase history. The future capital cost. Are we going to assume 6 years, or maybe they depreciate over 3 years? Or is that something they wish to exclude from the analysis? Also, invoice processing costs. Industry average says it costs about $18 to process an invoice between the time that the invoice is received, looked at, approved, moved to accounts payable, put in an envelope, mailed off, or gone online to pay. So again, you can agree to exclude or put in whatever number that they agree upon. If they're using IT or internal labor, what's the average monthly internal expenses, time spent in a percentage, total cost, or exclude. Also, replacement printer costs. So in the last 12 months, how many printers have they purchased to replace something that didn't work or just got too old? Printer service, labor, and parts. So if you have actual invoices, you can put that in, or a manufacturer that they go to for their labor and parts. Outsourcing expenses. So if they do outsourcing, maybe they don't have the resources in-house to do what they need to do. Do you have the invoices for those? And if you are including copiers in your assessment, do you have copies of the leases, any maintenance contracts, or anything like that? And then we'll move on to step 6, which is the last step before we start our proposal. And this is where you're going to enter in the contract information. Who is the contact for invoices? If you are missing an invoice or need something, who are you going to contact? Mapping. If you're going to be using a floor plan or something like that, who can you contact for that? Or, perhaps when you're mapping out their devices, who's going to be your contact to walk you through the facility? Who can you contact for electronic usage? So this is using FM Audit to monitor their usage. Maybe you need IT or someone like that to give you permission to put something on their server. And if there's any other contacts, that you're going to need for something, you can enter those here as well. Again, just hit save when you're done. And then we're going to go into proposals. So after we've done the pre-analysis, we're going to go into proposals. And this is where we're going to start the proposal process. And this includes importing or adding in their current devices, determining the cost, and looking at how much money it would cost for them to do business with you, and doing an analysis of what your solution is going to look like. In the proposals area, you can view previously done proposals by using the view button, or you can start a new proposal by choosing new proposal. Enter in the proposal name and a description and click save. And it will add it to your proposal list. Once it's added your proposal, you're going to be taken to a 5-step process. Step 1 is to add the printers that they currently have. And you can do this 3 different ways. You can add from our printer list. This is those 9,000 devices that are preloaded with industry averages. And you can search through using a keyword. So I just put in 1,000 there. And we'll just choose the LaserJet 1000. You can put in a quantity and then just add to TCO. It's going to add it to the list. Now to add more, you're going to click the plus button and you can do that process again. If you're going to use a meter import tool, FM Audit for example, I'm going to use the select button and I'm just going to browse through my computer to where I have that loaded. So I have it on my desktop. And this would be in a CSV file format based off of what you pulled from the FM Audit tool. There's also FM Audit Central, which is a direct connect to the FM Audit URL. You can also choose them from there. I pulled in a CSV file. So you'll see that my printers were brought in and it matched it in those 9,000 devices and automatically added the costs to it. And there was 24 printers on that file. I added the first one and now I have 25 more. You can also add a manual printer. So perhaps it's not in that list of 9,000. You can add it that way as well and just add miscellaneous printer. Now when you're adding in a manual printer, So not bringing it in from a data collection agent, for example. You will have to enter in the volumes and the costs because it's not from the printer list. So here we go. You'll see my volume here is 1. And I can say, maybe it's 1,000. So on any of these, you can go to this little pencil button and edit, and this will open the grid. So I'll just change that to 1,000 and update. Under all of these, there's also the edit all button, which allows you a bigger view of all the costs, so you can go in and make some changes here as well. The default coverage is 5% for the manufacturer and 10% for the customer. If you want to change this to say 8%, add in meters. On this one, I just put in 1,000, but if you wanted to put in meters, you could do that. You can change it from owned to leased. If it is a leased piece of equipment, you can add the lease payment or add depreciation here as well. You can change the cartridge costs. So instead of using industry averages, I want to use what it said on their invoices, had I gotten the invoices. And then you have 4 additional costs down here in addition to the cartridge drum for each color, the fuser transfer unit, and maintenance kit. Additional costs could be used for anything, any additional miscellaneous parts or consumables that they might be using. Now, it takes all of these costs and yields into consideration and gives you a cost per page. In this case, it came to 0.0348. If I wanted to override this for whatever reason and say, I want to say they're doing it at 0.03, you do have an override option right here. And you have printer details. So if I wanted to put in, an equipment ID number, any notes, a location, department, anything like that, maybe change the purchase date, just make any changes here and make sure you hit save and close, and that will save it here on that front page. And again, you can do that on any of these devices. Once you've added in the printers, where we are is under adjust costs, and that's why I can adjust my costs and things like that. So in addition to using the edit buttons, you can do what's called a batch edit. And if I have, multiple machines of the same series, so we'll just pick these 1018s down here since I have a few of them. What I can say is do a batch edit, and I can batch edit them here. So on all of these, I want a specific cartridge cost or an override coverage percentage, whatever it may be. So you don't necessarily have to do them one at a time. You can do a batch edit picking any of these. You can also copy check. And what this will do is anything that's checked, it will make a copy of it. So in this example, it'll add 3 more 1018s with the same costs. If you want to delete any machines from here, so I have one, that's a little weird. It looks like it's picking up a network card, this Kyocera printing system. I could check that and delete it. You can also import and export this list. If you wanted to make mass changes without using batch edit, you can export this. So you can do a full export or just a simple export with what's checked. Make changes in that Excel document and then just save it to your computer and import it back in. You also have the printer base lookup here, just like we did up in Tools under Printer Base. If you'd like to look at the printer base right from here, this Kyocera here is not matching. There's no name match. So it's showing everything as 0. Well, I know this is actually a Kyocera FS1000. What I can do is go to my printer base lookup. I can find the naming convention here. And you can actually, you can actually just copy and paste by going to right-click copy, so you don't have to just type it in. And I could go to edit this and type it right in there to make it match. If you want to change the layout, so if I want the serial number to show after the IP address, for example, I could drop that there. And to save your layout, just hit layout, or refresh grid will bring it back to the defaults. You'll also notice up here, it's giving me my customer's current totals. So currently I have 21 black and white, 4 color. Here's the total volumes and cost per pages on those. And if you make any changes and you hit recalculate, it will recalculate your numbers. Once you have everything just the way you'd like to see it, you're going to go to Finalize Printers. You're going to put in the months of the contract. You're going to enter in the percentage of margin that you'd like. Send the devices to the MPS contract, and you can either use the pricing from the MPS price book that your administrator has set up, or you can use your CPI program just for looking at pricing it out with toner only, all consumables and service, or just all consumables, and then click on next. And this is going to bring you to step 4, which is your MPS contract. In the MPS contract is where you can, on the top half of the page here, view your current out cost as a rep, the customer's current totals that we determined a couple steps back here, as well as what you're going to sell it for. On the bottom, you're going to see a listing of the printers. There's 24 currently. And again, here under the blue bar is the customer's current totals. And here, it looks like they're going to be saving quite a bit of money on this one. You will see a couple flags here. This first one, for example, it's just turning this red because it's just a warning. It'll still let you price it out. Just a warning that it's under a penny a page. You'll also see if something is unauthorized or if it's missing consumables. So under missing consumables, I have the number 1 here. And what this means is there is a device that you are proposing to take over for service that is missing consumables or costs. In this example, it's a color laser jet, and there's no color cost per page. However, there is a volume. If this is the case, you definitely want to go to your administrator. Now there's another one here for unauthorized. This is that Kyocera printing system U30. Well, this isn't an actual machine. It is, but the way FM Audit picked it up is not conventional. So it's saying it's actually unauthorized. What you can do at that point is you can notify the admin. You can also search for authorized models and say, all right, that Kyocera printing system, I actually know what that is. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Kyoceras, and I'll just override it with the actual model that it was. Oh, look at that. Maybe it was an FS1000. And now it's going to add it here with pricing. The other thing you could have done is added a new preferred model. And what that'll do is bring up a very similar list of what your administrator has determined is a preferred model. What that means is maybe that Kyocera was an actual machine, but we're not servicing it, and that's why it was unauthorized. So I'm going to replace it with another printer. That's where you would look for the preferred models. All right. If you choose that you want to remove any proposed devices, you can go to delete. You can also do the batch edit, just like you could in the previous step. You can add pools. So if you wanted to pool, say, all the color together, all the low volume black and white, high volume black and white, whatever it is, you can add in pool names and check that. You can also you can adjust the fill ratios. So if you wanted to, as opposed to what you used in the previous steps, to say this is what they're running, you could change that here in the proposed. You can add margins. You can select if you want to use OEM or non-OEM for either mono or color. You can switch your pricing right from here. If in that one previous step right before this, it asked if you wanted to, you certainly could do that here. Or do your CPI override. For these 3 machines, we're going to do it at $0.05. You could do that. And you can also say apply to all items in this proposal. So it gives you a lot of flexibility there. You can export this if you wanted to send it to a quick Excel export. You could do that. You can't import back into this area like you could in the other area, but you could certainly export it. Now, once you've made your changes here, you can go straight to step 5, which is your reporting. And this is where you're going to get your reports, your contracts, your proposals, and everything like that. Your assessment reports over here on the left, these are typically generated for the customer. I'm just going to choose the summary here. And you can choose any of them or all. The more you pick, the longer it's going to take to generate. There's also a default sort. Oh, that didn't take too long. Where you can actually sort by up to 3 different criteria. So if I wanted to sort by, say, age, and then department, and then model, I could do that. Now, once the report populates, and it's going to open up another tab here, you'll notice there's arrows here to go from one page to another. So this is my first page. So it's showing me all my devices, the volume, and the cost per page on those pages. Here's my color, because those other ones were the black and white ones. It's going to show me the volume versus the cost, as well as the age of the equipment by the equipment type. It's going to give me some grand totals here. And it looks like that was page 4. Now, if you want to print this right from here, you can use the printer button, but you can also export this to various different file types if you prefer. Let's close out of that. So also under assessment reports, you have the detail report, which is basically, the summary report is showing, I think, just enough information. It's giving you the devices, how much they're spending, and the volume they're doing. The detail report is really going to break it down into the costs that are going into how you determine what they're spending. And this could be IT labor, parts and labor, invoice processing. It could be a number of factors. So that report can get rather detailed. The meter report is pretty simple. What that's going to show you is the first and last meter read and the monthly average. And then you have your proposals and contracts in the middle. So these are contracts and proposals. They'll download into your web browser and open up a Word document. So you can do editing and things like that. These are, of course, customized to your dealership. So let's just do, for example, a platinum contract here. I'm just going to hit generate. And you'll see up here this flashing thing. It's telling me that it's generating. And this does sometimes take a moment depending on how many graphics are in the proposal template, how much information is being populated in, how many devices and things like that. And it looks like I have it download ready. And when this turns blue, you can say open it. And there we go. I have it down here in my toolbar. All right, so this is an example. And of course, this will look however you want it to. This is just our example. The contract, our cover page. It's showing me what the cost is going to be, how many pages it includes, the cost per page. Gives all my terms and conditions. Sign here. And then it will show a Schedule A at the bottom. All right, we'll close out of that. So all of these open up in Word. And then you have some processing and management reports. This isn't necessarily something you would want to talk to or show to your customer because this is internal pricing and things like that. You can access, again, the Resource Center right from here. And it opens up that Resource Center. All right, so let's go back here to our account. Because there was another option here called Quick Proposal. What this does, it's a little bit different than the normal proposal because it skips steps 1 and 2. And it actually just takes you, there we go, straight to adding the printers, doing the MPS contract, and reporting. So you're not doing all those other steps. So there's the option to do a quick proposal as well if going through the whole pre-analysis process and all those other steps isn't necessary. You can add multiple contacts here. So right now I have Bob listed, but I can add if I want to add another contact. If you have multiple contacts and you want one of them to show up here, just highlight it and set as main contact. Again, you can save the lid or the grid layout if you'd like to do that. You can also add documents. So if I had, say, a proposal or, maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet from the customer or anything else that you might want to add, you can just browse on your computer and you can hit open and it will put it here and just click on it and it opens it. It could be a PDF. You'll see here I have a CSV file. It could be Word, Excel. It could be an image file. It could be anything. So you can add documents that pertain to this account as well. There we go. Under availability, you can see who currently has access to this account. Right now, it's myself and Ben. But if I wanted to add a rep to this, I certainly could do that and then just add the rep. Also, if you wanted to edit any of this information up on top here, say address, company name, contact, you can use this little pencil button. Just go and type in, hit the save button, and it will save it for you. Well, thank you for joining our video today, and let us know if you have any questions at all.